Hi everyone, my name is Cassie and welcome to my channel Bookish 4 Eyes. Today I'm doing a book review of a book I recently read. It's called The Wife Between Us, and this is a thriller slash mystery book. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars, surprisingly, because in spite of that rating, I wouldn't say that this book is a great thriller. Just because, well, first of all, when you first get this book, and unless you've been spoiled on it, you're not really going to know what's happening. I know the title says The Wife Between Us, and I think that is kind of meant to throw you off a little bit. And I'll read you the synopsis first, because without the synopsis, you're not really going to know why I'm avoiding so many things in this book. So when you read this book, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you are reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she's obsessed with her replacement, beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You'll assume that you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. So I have to say that right from the start, as I started reading this book, I didn't really buy into the whole love triangle situation. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I feel like pretty early on you can tell. And this is told from different perspectives. So one chapter will be from Nellie's perspective. Nellie is the young woman who has met this man, and you also get it from Vanessa's perspective, who is the ex-wife who's supposedly bitter about it. You started out like that, and then you kind of get the perspective of the ex-wife and this new fiance, and then halfway through this book there's kind of a plot twist, and you realize that what you've been reading so far hasn't been entirely true. There's something a little bit off about this whole thing, and I was genuinely surprised at that point. But I feel like I haven't been reading this as closely as I should have, because I don't know, the twist seemed a little off, if that makes sense. And then the second half of the book is just from one person's perspective. So yeah, I don't want to give any too much stuff away in terms of the plot and who the narrator is and how it all kind of unfolds. There's also a twist right at the very end of the book where you learn how a character's past ties into what's currently happening, and I thought that twist was a little better, but I felt like it was really rushed. It was done so late in the book, right near the very, very end, that it didn't really have a lot of time to kind of unfold and to really draw you in and to really shock you. I read it and it felt like an afterthought, the book was kind of over, but maybe then at the end oh, maybe we should put something else in to just make it more interesting. That's what it felt like. So I read it and I was oh, that didn't really do anything for me. So I'd say as a thriller, this book is maybe a 2, but as a novel, I gave it a 4, just because I was in a reading slump. And when you're reading a book and you feel you keep checking how much longer till the next chapter, how much longer do I have to read until I'm on to the next chapter that I could take a break and do something else. Well, with this book, I flew through it, and I wouldn't say that it's really, really well written or anything. It's just, it was an easy read. It read kind of like a Sex and the City if it were a novel. I mean, I know Sex and the City is based on a book, but if Sex and the City was trying also to be a thriller, then I feel that's what it would be just because there's so much kind of materialistic things in this. It felt like fluff, but I do like Sex and the City, and I guess those kind of surface level things are easy to read. Another thing that felt kind of surface level to me is all of the characters. You get to know some of their past, but not that much. And the husband in question, I don't even know. You get to learn a little bits about his family, but so insignificant. I barely even knew this guy. I don't know anything else about him. You just don't get a very good glimpse. You don't get a very good glimpse of the women in this book. You learn some little things from their past that are kind of significant, but turn out to be, in the grand scheme of things, pretty significant. But even then, they're supposed to be significant, but because so little information is given about each of those things, you don't really form a bond with any of the characters. You just kind of cruise along on their little journey. This book is just, if it wasn't written like such an easy read where I just kind of devoured it, not because it was good, but because it was easy, I think this probably would have been a huge struggle for me. So while I gave it 4 stars, I think it's just because it was just the book that I kind of flew through. So characters are surface level, book seems very shallow overall, very materialistic, and the twists are like, I think the idea was interesting, it just wasn't executed as well as I would have liked for it to be like a great thriller. But I think the overall idea for it was pretty neat and interesting. Or maybe you like romance and you want something a little more kind of a little bit darker, this is probably a good book. If you enjoy genuine like thrillers and you don't really like fluffy reads, I guess this isn't really a good pick for in that case. I don't genuinely enjoy fluffy reads. This one seemed different for some reason, so I liked it. It was a little bit predictable in some sense, but I don't want to say why, just because they'll probably give the whole plot away. So I wouldn't buy it, but if it's there, I would read it. So there's that. So that's it for my, I guess, sort of brief and very vague review of this book. I hope that was kind of informative and you gathered a little bit more about it than what you knew from that little brief blurb about the book, which basically gives you nothing. So please let me know if you've read this book and what you thought of it, and also please let me know if you've read any really good thrillers lately. I'm always on the lookout for good thrillers to read. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.